Guys, what's going on? It's your favorite fantasy coach, the NRL Fantasy Fanatic, coming at you for round number 11. I've had so many people hit me up being, where were you last week? And I was sick as a dog. I was so sick. And you can even hear it now, that nasally voice in the back of my nose, that little bit of a blubber that I reckon it's going around for everyone, that cold, that flu. Just shoo. It's the worst. It's the pits. It's the epitome of my existence. I absolutely hate it, but I thought, you know what, I had to do a video. I'm actually feeling much better than what I was last week. Not to mention, it's actually my birthday tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the 17th of May. So that's a big one for me. So to catch up on from the last week, from this week, changes left, right, and center, buy coverage, coming at you left, right, and center. But if you're liking the series thus far, guys, please be sure to give this video a subscribe on my YouTube channel, and also be sure to give it a like in any fashion, whether it be on Facebook or on YouTube. And make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know what your trades are, if there's any comments or any questions I have in particular for myself. Let's have a close look at my team for this week. Where do we go big? I thought after Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I thought it was going to be a really big week. I thought this was the one that's going to put me back into the top 1,000. Unfortunately, my overall rank is 4,209, so we're getting there. We're getting some leeway. We're chipping away at the top teams, and we're knocking on their door. McInnes had a big one. Captain, 60, went big. 120 in total for me. Graham, McGuire, Kaufusi. I don't know what's happening with Kaufusi. He seems to have been benched this week, so if you've got Kaufusi, you're going to trade him out, because otherwise his break-even of 55 is going to bleed your cash. You've lost. If you've had him since the start, it's been a wild ride, Kaufusi, but it's time to go. It's time to get out of here. It's time to make way. Get him out of there. Paul Vaughan returned back to his normal form, which is great because he got 74 after having an earlier week where he got 26. So technically, he scored 100 over 2 games. That gives you an average of 50 per game for the last 2 games. If you did pick him up 2 games ago, that's great. Sammy Burgess was absolutely amazing. 96, the pinnacle of that round. And it was great to see, because so many times had people have captained him and then he just didn't deliver. I'm surprised about 3% of people had chosen to captain him, but which was an almost bigger charade. I don't know why, because you look at his games, they're inconsistent. 96, 44, 60, 46, 69. Crazy, absolutely insane. Jack Belin scored his regular. Adam Elliot was a big one I traded in last week, and although I didn't make a video last week, I tried to message as many people who asked me, who am I trading in this week? And Adam Elliot was there. He had a negative break-even of like 3, and -3 that is, and he was going to be playing at the back row. Even if Adam Elliot was going on the bench, I was always going to pick him up for the one and single reason that at the end of the day, buy coverage. He's going to play the first major buy round, and he plays the third major buy round, and he had money to make. So I wanted to bring him in at the cheapest value I possibly was going to get him at. He started anyway, got 39, made 36k, now has a break-even of 3, and you can see the amount of people that bought him. 2,247 of you actually bought him, 54 of you sold him prior to last week. I don't know why. Nathan Brown, he did a good job for us. 41, it's not great, it's not fantastic, but it's not bad. I mean, he still made some money for us on the side, 5k. Crichton, after we captained him and he got 26 after being benched, he comes out and gets 71. Like, take that. That's like the captain roulette scenario that we're always talking about. Corey, CHN, my boy. Look, I didn't play him. I didn't reserve him because I was like, I knew he was going to come off the bench. And generally, people who score off the bench are always going to score lower than the people who start in the game. It's because they get less game time. And the fact is, he got 39. Good news is that he's only got 35 break even, so he's got 1 more price rise to go, possibly 2 or maybe even 3, because he is starting for Fisher Harris. So I'm going to be playing him this week. I don't think he's a trade. Corey Norman was disappointing, which is what I was talking about last time, because Sunday games were a bit of a downfall for me. Corey Norman scoring 22, but not only that, getting injured. We don't know how many weeks he's going to be out for. There are so many rumors going around that it's a level 2, level 1 ligament. I don't know. No one knows. Could be out for 2 weeks, could be out for 3 weeks, could be out for 4, 5, 6. Nicarima did a great job. He was absolutely amazing. He really showed himself up in that second half that he played. And, getting an easy try there from an error when the Seagulls made a bit of a fumble there. And it was great for us because he was able to get across the line, get us some additional points. Kane Elgey returned to his usual status after scoring an impressive 44. And he's going to be a sell. I'm looking to sell him because his break-even is only 22. While he might get 23, 24, he's only going to make 1k. He's more likely to lose money in my opinion. Benny Hampton did great off the bench. 27, made us 17k. Break even of 12. Look, he's starting at number 14, so he's benched. He's got a spot in the team. He's going to make money. That's all I'm happy for. Sione Mataudia, I was absolutely amazed in the first half. Broke through the line, scored a try, hit the gap when he needed to, and we've been waiting for a good, solid fantasy result like that for such a long time for him. It's been up and down since the start of the year, but finally, perseverance has paid off, and he rewarded us with a comfortable 64 points and a 22 upside, making his upside of 50k all over the season, which is about time because, break even 22, 9k up. I think this is going to be the part where he's going to start to soar off. We might even see another 50k rise for Sione Mataudia in the next couple of weeks. So we'll just get out of him. Who else is there to talk about? There is also Joey Leilua. Disappointing since I picked him up. How do you... See, this is the thing I'm always talking about with centers, fullbacks, wingers. You can't always determine how often they're going to get involved in the game because their position are on the outside, skirts defensively and also attacking. One week they can go big, the next week they'll get nothing. And that's going to be the case with all centers, great, bad, or the worst. We expect a little bit more from Joey just simply because every time he touches the ball, we're actually expecting a tackle bust like Connor and Harold a couple of years ago when he'd get like 4 to 3 tackle busts a game, possibly 5, 6, or 7 in those bigger games that he played. Joey just doesn't seem to be getting the ball, and defensively, I think teams are really starting to step up this year and also last year where making easy tackle breaks out on the flanks aren't necessarily happening as much as they used to. So I'm going to have to stick with him because I've bought him. He lost 43k. He's losing more money. Break even is 74. He's going to lose more money regardless. But I've bought him. I have to stick with him. He got outscored by Joey Waddell. Brought him in. He ended up playing centre, but ended up getting a try in that game. Carl Lawton didn't play, but looks to be the 14th man named this week, which is surprising. So I expect him to get some game time, even though it might be minimal. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Lawton because he plays everywhere. Wing, centre, hooker. He doesn't generally play in the forward or second row position, but will be interesting to see how he plays. Usually if he comes off the bench, really fast, acceleration run, can make a couple of line breaks. We've got Jared Hayne. Look, we don't know what's happening with Hayne at the moment because of the injury crisis around his knee. Bit disappointing again, getting 13. Tuivasa-Sheck was also another huge disappointment. By his own admission, it was the worst second half he's ever played in his life. So, hopefully there's more to come. Valentine Holmes getting 50, happy with that. Got to be happy with that. And it's getting to be that point at the time where you need to have taken your State of Origin covers quite seriously. Because if you haven't, guys, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be absolutely stuck with who to pick up, what to trade, what to do, and you're not going to have players to play, and you're just going to drop through the order. Now, looking at my team, I've got 10 players on the first major buy round. That doesn't include the fact that Corey Norman probably won't play, so it's really 11. Burns probably will not play either, so it's 12. And nor will McGuire. So technically, I have 13 players out in the first major buy round at the moment without any trades. So all my trades have to be now to try to bring in some more strategy essence buy players. Now, Tyrell, I'm going to completely milk his last name for Mona, but I wanted to pick him up last week, but I thought I didn't want to trade him in early because he was starting on the bench, and how many times have we seen a guy start on the bench, only come in to get 10, 20 points, and then do nothing? He came on last week and was absolutely amazing. Broke the line a few times, hit the ball running hard. He seemed to have gotten an ample amount of minutes. I mean, 34 minutes isn't that big, but he was playing to a point where he was scoring more fantasy points per minute than there were in the game. So, my thing here is, I need to bring him in because, yes, he will play during the major buy rounds. He's a cash out for Felise Kaufusi. Remember we spoke about Felise Kaufusi just a while ago. And he's got dual position. He's a dual position player with the second row on center, so I can move him down to the center spot after I'm done with Carl Lawton and Joe Waddell. So I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to be doing there with those two players. The other change that I've decided to make is I'm bringing Cody Walker in for Elgey. Elgey's done. Elgey's not going to make any more money. We discussed that earlier. Cody Walker seems to be the go-to guy here at the moment. And the reason why I'm going Cody Walker is because of his dual position status. I need to bring in a half that's going to play. Now, the scary factor here is if Nikorima, sorry, not Nikomura, people are going to pick it. Oh, Jesus. People love it. If Nikorima doesn't play, which he might not because of Ben Hunt, that's really going to stuff me up. So I needed to bring in someone for Corey Norman, but I didn't want to trade out Norman because I think he might be back next week, but he might be back the week after. I just didn't want to waste trades for the simple fact of going one over the other. By bringing in Cody Walker, of all players, slots into the half spot, I can actually push him down into the wing fullback position if either of these guys get injured, Hayne, Tuivasa-Sheck or Holmes, because Burns and Ponga aren't playing. And that's where the SOS comes out of. At the moment, there's a lot of coaches out there right now who are like, shit, I've got a lot of red dots, and I need to cover positions. You're gonna have to cover a lot more positions next week for bye coverage, but that's gonna help me where if Norman comes back next week, I can slide someone for Walker and push Walker back down for any of these guys, Burns, Ponga, and if I've got another dual position, player there, I can move them around. So that's essentially why I've done that. So I'm future-proofing my team a little bit here by bringing him in. I prefer Reynolds because Reynolds does do the conversions and he gets a couple more extra points here. But the interesting thing about Cody Walker is, and I was looking at the NRL Fantasy Lounge spreadsheet, is that Cody Walker, while he's named at fullback this week, actually scores the same amount of points. Well, it's like 48 points on average at fullback in comparison to when he plays halves, which is 49 or thereabouts, rounded off to the closest one. So regardless if Walker plays fullback or half, I'm happy to say he's going to be scoring quite well. And again, I'm bringing him in simply because I need players playing in these bye rounds. I'm telling you guys, a lot of you are going to get shocked after your first bye round. If it's your first season playing NRL Fantasy and you don't do good bye coverage and you've just bought players left, right and center and you haven't planned anything, you're going to be rudely awakened after week one. You're like, wow, I just dropped a lot of spots and I can't regain those because there's going to be guys out there who have covered properly. Like, after round 12, we're going around 13, I technically have 6 players out, but that will mean that I'll still have 19 players to choose for my run-on squad. So the simple thing is, just because, other people might think, well, bye coverage is useless because you'll make up the points in the next round anyway. That's not going to be the case if you're up against someone like me. So, overall, really important that you kind of start looking at those trades. You think right now, look at your team, how many people are going to be out, how many trades do I have this week? 2, and you're going to have 3 next week for the State of Origin bye coverage. So you'll have 5 in total. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. So you've got 5 trades, and if you've got 15 players out, you can only make technically 5 trades in order to get that down to 10, and then have 15 players playing at max. So think about it. Essentially, have a relook at your team. One of the talking points I want to talk about is Mitchell Moses. It looks like he's been named the 21st man for the Eels. Interesting perspective. I know no one's asked me this question yet, but it's going to be a big question, is because Mitchell Moses plays the Parramatta Eels, has amazing bye coverage now as a result, do we pick him up? My answer is no. Simply for the first round, because his break-even's 50, and as you can see from his games, he hasn't broken 50 once yet. Well, he actually did in round 4 by 2 points, but, more or less to the fact, he's not going to break that. So he's probably going to lose money by next week. So could we potentially pick up Mitchell Moses? Let's see how he slots into the Parramatta team. He should take over the goal kicking, which means he'll get conversion points. I think he'll be a good mid-ranger to have for the Origin cover. I actually do think that might be a very, very, very good source of points while you're trying to cover for your team. The other one is Paul Gallen. Now, all the teams being announced by all the celebrities, NRL celebrities, Freddie Fittler's, I was going to say Brad Fittler, but Freddie Fittler and Brad Fittler are the same person. I'm actually losing my mind right now, aren't I? Paul Gallen. I really want him in my team, and that was the next trade I was going to make for Felise Kaufusi because I had the money there to do it. But unfortunately, I decided not to on the simple basis that I need to make other trades now than later. Like, I need to have 2 playing halves at the moment because Norman's out. Kind of sucks, guys, but that's the way you have to play it sometimes. You have to evaluate what's more important to you at that time. And the thing is, next week, I'm already putting together some trades in my head. Mitchell Moses to come in for Ben Hampton, possibly, or Nicarima, depending if he gets the old Kane and stick and gets pulled from the team. And to bring in Paul Gannon in for CHN. Simply because CHN doesn't have a guaranteed spot. It looks like he's maxed out. Like, if he gets 40 points this week, that's great. But then, you know, his break-even's going to be 43 or 44. And unless he's going to be playing that spot all the time, which isn't a certainty, you know, we're scrapping at the end of the barrel here. So that's where I'm looking at for next week's trades, and not what you should be thinking about for your next week's trades. I'm going to cut this episode short because, you know, I'm not well and it's my birthday tomorrow. But I've got 16 trades up my sleeve. I'm trying to get into the top 3,000 by the end of this round. I'm confident that I'll be able to do it considering the amount of players that are out. You know, we had some shocking injuries like Tommy Trbojevic on the weekend. That blew my mind. Like, that tackle and the way he came down, that looked like it hurt. But what do? You can't... I'm all for the rule where if you're tackled in the air, then you should definitely get penalized. You shouldn't have to, you know, worry about being tackled in the air like while you're trying to catch a ball. However, if the ball is bounced, I think it's fair game. I think if they were to go politically correct on this and to say we're going to cotton wool our players and make sure, you know, if they're in the air, period, then it makes it too difficult of a rule to kind of follow. Because even off chip kicks, or even off little grubbers that flick up at the end after they've gone off the ground, like, people have to jump up for them. Does that mean you can't touch them when you're competing for the ball? And that's going to be a really scary grey area if that's the way we go. And there was a freak accident. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why they always say to players, always make sure you catch the ball because the bounce of the ball could go anywhere. And this one just went up. Like, it just went up. It hit the flat part of the ball rather than any pointy end, and it just went up. So, at the end of the day, guys, freak accident. I'd love to hear what you guys think down below, so let me know in the comment section. Keep sending me your Snapchats. Keep sending me your messages on the Facebook group. Keep sending me messages on anything, questions on the NRL Fantasy Fanatic forum. I'll definitely be answering them. Before we wrap up this episode, let's have a look at who's coming first at the moment, because I know how many people love that episode. Love this segment. I shouldn't say episode. Segment of looking at this person's team. Now, can we catch them? This is what the segment is. I look at the person who's coming first at the moment, looking at our point difference. Our point difference is 67 points. That's quite significant. That's off the back of him scoring considerably well. So we have to get 667 points. That's doable. You know, give or take a few injuries here or there. But let's have a look at his team. Cameron Smith, solid option, a captain. Damien Cook, not so much. I mean, averaging 33.7, sharing the hooker role. It's a bad purchase for him. Had he have gone with Ryley or Case Pritchard, would have been in a really sweet spot with this team. Fafita had stood up. Paul Gallen had stood up for his team. Now, I'll be interested to see what he does with Felise Kaufusi next round. He's also got a bench player who he hasn't moved since round 1, which is a bit odd. That means he probably doesn't have a lot of money, you know, flowing through this team other than what he's got on the field already. He's got Jason Tamalolo, who seems to be sliding down a little bit more than what people had presumed. I remember saying at the start of the year, I think he's playing increased minutes, and a lot of people had gone against me and said, no. He's been conditioned to play longer minutes. You'll find that he's going to be playing much longer minutes, you know, if not 70 to 80 minutes. And as you can see here, he was dropped back down to the 50. And that came down to the same fact that Jared Wallace had, and it's injuries. If there's no injuries around him, don't expect him to play 70 minutes. Paul Gallen's in there, so he's got a really solid second row here. Crichton. I'm going to keep pronouncing him Critchin, because that's how you pronounce it in Scotland. I know you don't believe it, but that's how it's pronounced. And that's how I see it. It's like tomato. Sean Johnson, Mitchell Pearce. He's got Frawley as his offside. He has Fogarty as his benchy. Unfortunately, doesn't look like Fogarty's not going to get a spill anytime soon, even with Norman being out and also the whole mystery around Gutherson playing that 6th role, which is a bit of a shame because it's been interesting to see Will Smith on the field. I wanted to see that rookie play for so long, and it was good to see him get his grips into the game, especially against the Cowboys, where he seemed to be more of a running half. But the fog, the man, the mystery, everyone wanted to see him play, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen with Mitchell Moses coming into the team. He's got Kotrick. Kotrick seems to be that guy that seems to be over-delivering. I wrote him off earlier in the season. I thought, this guy's hit his stride. You know, he's gotten his points and he's walked away, and he's done it back to back to back to back to back, where he scored excessively well. And only if I had held him, I would have been a lot happier. So, you know, it's a bit of a shame that I let that one go. 44% of you have actually held on to him. Brian Kelly is still in that team, and he seems to be losing money, and I expect him to continue to lose a bit of money. Jamal Idris and Talakai is on the bench, who both aren't playing. And then he's got the experienced RTS Haynes Slater. He's also got Pythian. This tells me this guy hasn't been making a lot of trades. It sounds like this guy probably has a lot of trades up his sleeve, but probably doesn't have too much money happening with the other areas. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't bring in that Tyrell fella from the Rabbitohs. That would be an absolute shocker to me, because now's the time to do it. He can trade him in for Talakai or Idris, make money on the side, and also have someone who's going to have good buy coverage. This team doesn't have good buy coverage. Expect them to go backwards in round 12. That's just me, what I'm saying. Anyway, guys, this has been Spot the Aussie here with your NRL Fantasy round number 11. I hope I've lived up to your expectations. I've actually got a new computer, so I've actually got to do all my rendering and all my options and all my settings and all my new software uploads and do all that stuff and fix all that. So it's quite a bit to do on the rear end. I really appreciate the support you guys have given me. Be sure to subscribe, like the video. Let me know in the comments down below what your trades are for this week, and I'll catch up to you guys shortly.